12.1 Ecology Overview. So right here we've got, do organisms live in isolation? No. Organisms are not separated from their environment or from other organisms. They interact in many ways with their surroundings. So for example, these deer right here, they may be drinking from this stream or eating nearby plants. Ecology is the study of these interactions. And we've talked about this, right? Ecology is just the study of how organisms, living organisms, plants and animals interact with their surroundings. And so life science can be studied at many different levels. You can study small things like cells, which we have already done, or you can study big things like a group of animals. You can also study the biosphere, which is any area in which organisms live. So we learned about biomes. There's actually a section in this book about biomes if you want to go ahead and look at that. The study of the biosphere is part of ecology, the study of how living things or organisms interact with each other and with their environment. You'll notice these green words here are in bold. They're hyperlinks and they will bring you to yet more resources once it loads, right? So you can read more about biospheres here. All right, so we're not going to do that right now. I'm going to go back. Research in ecology. So ecology involves many different fields, including geology, soil science, geography, meteorology, genetics, chemistry, and physics. You can also divide ecology into the study of different organisms, such as animal ecology, plant ecology, insect ecology, and so on. Ecologists also study biomes. A biome is a large community of plants and animals that live in the same place. For example, ecologists can study the biomes as diverse as the Arctic, the tropics, or the desert. See the figure below. This is an example of a biome. This is the Atacama Desert in Chile. Atacama, probably. Okay. Then we've got, they may want to know why different species live in different biomes. They may want to know, who's they again? The ecologists. They may want to know what would make a particular biome or ecosystem stable. Can you think of other aspects of a biome or ecosystem that ecologists could study? What else could they study? So, right, this is a question, and I can add a note. They could study, what else? Take a moment to think. I want you to add your note to this question. Okay, ecologists do two types of research: field studies and laboratory studies. So field studies involve collecting data outside in the natural world. An ecologist who completes a field study may travel to a tropical rainforest to study, count, and classify all of the insects that live in a certain area. Laboratory studies involve working inside, usually in a controlled environment, though sometimes ecologists collect data from the field and then they analyze the data in the lab. Also, they use computer programs to predict what will happen to organisms that live in a specific area. For example, they may make predictions about what happens to insects in the rainforest after a fire, right? So immediately I'm thinking, well, what kind of computer programs and what could these computer programs potentially help? How could these computer programs help us in the future? What kind of data are they collecting? And how can we use that to form more questions and figure out more answers? Organisms and environments. So you might want to put like a note there or something. Organisms and environments. All organisms have the ability to grow and reproduce. To grow and reproduce, organisms need and must get materials and energy from the environment. Plants obtain their energy from the sun through, as you already know, photosynthesis, whereas animals obtain their energy from other organisms. Either way, these plants and animals, as well as the bacteria and fungi, are constantly interacting with other species as well as non-living parts of the ecosystem. And we've talked about this, right? We've talked about abiotic and biotic factors. Abiotic parts of the environment are not living. Remember, the prefix a means without or not. And so these are things like sunlight, the climate, right? Temperature over a period of time, soil, water, and air. These are all abiotic factors. Biotic factors are the parts of the environment that are alive, right? Or were alive and then died, such as plants, animals, and their remains. Biotic factors also include bacteria, fungi, and protists. Again, you can click on these links to remind you what those biotic factors are. So basically, ecology studies the interactions between biotic factors and abiotic factors. So for example, all animals, biotic factors, breathe in oxygen, an abiotic factor, as you know. All plants, a biotic factor, they absorb carbon dioxide, which is an abiotic factor, and they need water, which is also an abiotic factor, to survive. Can you think of another way that abiotic factors and biotic factors interact with each other? So here's your summary, right? So if I were you, I would highlight this, maybe add your notes here, right? Your answer to this question. Explore more. So here's